So if you look at our industry, it's a $150 billion industry, 20,000 recruiting firms. 95% of us operate the exact same way, which is on a contingent basis, which means, as everybody should know, the customer doesn't have to put any money up front. They can sign a contract, but there's no exchange of commerce until a successful placement happens. So by and large, like our industry is a brokerage business. It's very much like real estate or insurance, like logistics brokerages. So when you're in a brokerage type model, there's certain benefits and then there's certain inefficiencies within that. So some of the benefits for the customer is it's an easy sales process. You don't have to pay anything and we'll work on stuff for free. And once we make a placement, then you have to pay. That's a huge benefit, right? You can pick up business pretty quickly. It's a relationship capital business.
Yeah, it's risk,
pick them up pretty
free,
quickly.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. Low barriers to entry. And we can kind of plant a flag and open up shop and compete with the big boys and the big girls. So under that model, though, to compete there, and I spent 10 years in what I would consider, like we did things pretty well at Aerotech. Like we were very, very efficient, but I picked my head up and I looked at it and I had about a 65-person recruiting team at the peak. And if I was being honest with myself, only about like 30% of my recruiting team's time went monetized. Meaning like we got paid for it, they got paid commissions for it. And then you ask yourself, like, why is that? So because it's a brokerage model where the client doesn't have to pay anything up front, they're incentivized to avoid you and fill it on their own with their internal HR department. They're incentivized to, hey, let me call this out to 3 or 4 or 5 companies at the exact same time, let them kind of compete over it, right? And all these other things in between. And hey, I was working on this and now I can't get a call back. I've been working on this for 2 weeks, kind of what happened. So we called that wash racks in the past. So all these things happen that I think everyone that's listening knows about. So when you look at that internally, that's a very inefficient business model. You should be monetizing 100% of your team's time. But if you're only monetizing 30 or 40%, then you have to basically pay for that underutilized capacity. Like you have to find a way to pay for that other 70%. So that's why our industry charges 20, 25, sometimes 30% of first year salary. It's not because we're that good in a lot of cases. It's because that's what everybody does. And we have to charge that amount of money, not because like the owners are making 50% net income margins. They need that just to keep the lights on because it's so inefficient. And if you look at the recruiting team too, and everybody I would imagine knows this, it's a grind. If you're only like, you're doing a good job and stuff that's outside of your control is impacting your ability to make commissions, like that's why we have a lot of turnover. That's why as a leader under this model, it was really hard for me to maintain a team without having high turnover. Is because people get burnt out with this. And, the people that were working with good customers that would move quickly and their 100% of their time was monetized, like they stuck around. And then the folks that didn't have that situation typically left. And I just said, man, this is really inefficient. And to really do well under this model, you have to take the approach of get in early, stay late, outwork your competition. There's not a lot of inefficiencies within that in order to compete under that model.